Welcome to the Village of Buchanan, March 28th workshop meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I can tell it's budget day. Everybody has balloons today.
Yeah. And also, I want to mention, in case of emergency, please use the exit door here or use the stairwell behind the elevator. Please do not use the elevator. Thank you. Okay, so we have some interesting things to discuss this evening. First of all is update on the street sweeper market.
Sure, based on trustee Stewart's recommendation, we actually reached out to a local contractor. Scott reached out to him by renting it as a street sweeper. He was very cooperative. He says, gave us a very good price to do on a daily basis. We're trying to figure out how many days, what areas, trying to create a grid kind of coordinates. So therefore we can tell the residents what days not to park in front of the cars. So as soon as we get some additional information, I'll let you know, but hopefully we'll have a street sweeper out on the street and they're going to man it, supply it. And we're also trying to figure out how to get rid of the material that's collected. So I think we have an option for that as well. Scott looked into that as well. So I think we got all the pieces together finally after I don't know how many years and I haven't street sweeper. So we might have something going out there late spring, early summer, and then we'll get a program in place. So I want to thank Dan for that suggestion. It worked out very well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Marcus, there's
Whoops, not yet.
removal of street sweeping is carting company,
Yes,
20-yard container,
Mhm.
dump it in a container.
Perfect.
and the sweeping.
correct. Perfect.
It's
Thank you.
considered C and D.
Perfect. Thank
We
you.
used to do all these years.
Used to mix it with the leaves,
Oh,
make topsoil out of it until
okay.
everybody started changing their oil on the street.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right. Good.
Perfect.
Good. I'm sure people will be very happy, and I know Peekskill has their street sweeper out almost every day, but they have signs that they keep out, but. You know,
Yeah, I haven't seen it in front of my house for the last couple of weeks, so I got to call the city.
we could do it like, yeah, well, that's another story. Any, but we can always, use our code red to alert
Yes.
people, if it's, we don't have enough time to put it in the newsletter. or
We'll
something.
talk to the police and DPW, put signs up like on streets as well, like they street sweeping, no parking, try to get the word out as much as possible. Yes.
This is gonna happen just for the month of April.
We're trying to do April or May, depending on when we can coordinate with all the pieces. We have to see when his driver and sweeper is available. So we're going to get all that set up. As soon as I know, I'll email the board, get the word out, and then give maybe a couple days prior notice to the neighborhood, and then go from there.
People will be happy.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Dan, for
Absolutely.
looking into that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next, we have our recreation supervisor, Nancy Bayer. So Nancy, if you can come up to the podium, we got a few things to discuss this evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so first we're gonna start with regarding camp discounts for employees.
Okay, so it was asked of me, and I would consider an employee highway, police, and perhaps my core staff, like director, assistant director, nurse. And I guess village trustees. So it's either a yay or an A, and it's either, let them come for free, or instead of 6 weeks, do a 3 weeks pay rate, whatever you want to do. We'll get back to them and tell them yay or nay or whatever. It could be, you can look at it as a courtesy to them, to you. Some of the people have been working for us for a very long time. My director's been working for us since the 80s.
So it would be her grandchildren, her grandchild. I was gonna say,
I think it's children by age. But
how many
also
people would this approximately be?
Just 3 to 5 kids.
Oh, okay.
Seriously, I don't know how many people working for us have children at camp age.
Mhm.
So that bring them here, so.
How do you feel about this, Nancy? You think it's
I
a
think
good
it's a good
idea?
thing. I do. I don't know, I have no problems with it. I think it's a nice little perk for somebody that's been people that are working for us, not talking about my counselors. you know, like they're, because everyone's wanted to get an adult concert, but, like real adult, not high school adult. Or their, you know, siblings, but I'm talking department, highway department employees. I know that John has a child of age, I believe. I don't know her name. And both my assistant director and my director have grandkids. And I think
So
that's
probably
it.
in the end, you might be looking at 10 people.
At the most.
So it's not
Not
like,
even, I
it's
was
not even like 30 people.
Oh,
So
no.
it's like 10 people. All right.
You
So,
could limit it to a certain number of people for tri-Perry if you want to do that too. It's up to you guys, whatever you want to do.
I can't imagine that any of our staffing in the village is 30 kids.
no, I'm not saying 30 kids for one person. I'm just saying.
In total, in total.
You know, because I know, like, you know, you said the police, but a lot of them don't live locally, so. You know, I can't.
And I
see
don't
them.
know how many of them would send their kids here,
Mhm.
on their schedules. You know.
So yeah, in figuring out everybody, I would say maximum 10.
Right
So
now, I know, I think there's 3 that I know of, children,
I,
so that's it.
I,
Two.
I myself
Or
don't.
people
so-
Do 3 weeks, the first session,
Yeah.
free, and the second session, paying, whatever.
I'll do the other way around, yeah, just let them know, yeah, you did the first 3. If that's how you want to do it, first 3 free, and the second 3. No, first 3 you pay, and the second 3 free. Up to you.
I don't have a problem with it. You know, we're not talking,
Whatever the board wants.
Yeah. we're not talking a whole bunch of people, so.
And I agree, I know it's been stated that the village rates are already cheap and expensive,
Mhm.
let's use that word. You know, that's another thing we can also think of down the line for next year.
Yeah, just given the fact that the rates are so low, I think the overall profit of the camp, while it's good, it's not, you know. We're not making, you know,
We're
a
not
ton of
making
money
money,
off of it,
right.
so I don't know if I would really recommend free,
Okay,
say, or maybe some type of discount, whether it's 25%, 30% off of whatever the rate is,
Okay.
40%.
So when do you need the answer? Like
um,
today?
no, I don't need it today, because they can always pay later.
Well, I'm all for it. So if we wanted to make a decision, Mayor.
I'm good with it. Yeah, it's up to, you know, it's up to
So if
everybody.
I think, I'm not for the free.
Mhm.
Okay,
The discounted
Yeah.
rate will work for me.
okay,
The 3 weeks, first 3 weeks, and then give them a total of 6 weeks, sounds good.
okay, because that's actually
Yeah,
not
whatever.
quite 50%, because I charge more for 3 weeks. Per week technically than I do for all 6 weeks. So that'd be a great way to go.
And
Just
I
for
know
village
some-
employees.
Correct,
Yeah, I know some of the private camps do this. My kids went to Camp Home years ago, and I know Camp Navy does some kind of, you know,
right, well, it's so expensive to go there too, that if we work for
right, I
them,
get it.
I would think, you know. Great,
And the 50%, I was thinking in my head, 3 weeks paid, 3 weeks free. So in my head, it was 50%.
right,
So,
not quite, so we'll do
Okay.
the 3 weeks. pay. Yeah, I said on the 3 weeks. So, for example, 3 weeks is $315 for a resident versus the $570. So we'll charge them $315 for
For the 6 weeks.
the 6 weeks, is that okay? Thank you.
Sounds
They're-
great.
They will be appreciative.
all right, we'll try that this year and see, you know, see how it works.
And the second thing? You don't have to. think of-
Oh, I'm so
Pool
sorry.
salaries.
It's the pool salaries.
Oh, the pool salaries, yes, thank you, thank you. I would like to increase my starting pool lifeguards at 15, last year it was 14. Pretty much everywhere is 15 or higher, as we know, we're having issues hiring and keeping people on through, you know, after camp season ends, everybody does.
So
So
should go back.
that's. Yes, that.
Okay, so $1 more increase.
For beginner lifeguards,
Okay. And that's comparable.
yes. Yeah.
All right. You know, we need lifeguards and I don't have a problem with that either.
Me neither.
Okay, thank you.
Agreed.
Agree.
Okay. All right, thank you.
There
Anything
was one
else?
other thing, Nancy,
Mhm.
that you were supposed to bring up tonight. I don't remember
Well, I
myself.
know I asked about the fence, but I don't think that was
Yes.
good to know.
Well, we could
Okay.
discuss that, the fence. That's
Right.
right, that's what it
The
was.
fence that goes around the ice skating rink. I would like to use that for my camp. It just sort of hit me. That would make a great barrier, and especially for my younger kids, or even around. If I'm gonna keep one of the basketball hoops, I could make that a section strictly for the basketball, so that ball and the kids are not running into each other everywhere. I would really like to use that fencing. And you know, we don't use it for anything else, so.
Just talk to Scott, I'm okay with
Yep.
it.
Just
Yeah.
section it off, yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Common sense.
It all belongs to the villages. Yours
Just
is,
be careful with that it doesn't, get damaged, because it was right, Marcus, an expensive fence.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with you using it, it's just. Make sure everybody understands that it's an expensive fence and not to be. Yes, don't beat it up.
no horsing around on the fence. you know,
That's
that-
right, yeah.
Yeah. We'll put down.
I think that was all you, well, I'm sorry.
Something just came up before Nancy leaves the podium. I just got a call from Scott today. The tennis courts are in really, really bad shape. There's a sinkhole that's getting worse in the middle of one of the courts. It's really cracked pretty bad. So we need to discuss, are we gonna, actually reach out to the insurance company to see, it might be a situation where we have to cordon that off with signs up, no more tennis playing. It could be that dangerous right now. So I want to we need to discuss if we're gonna refinish those courts, do we want to go pickleball, or do you want to change basketball courts? So something that we need to consider on the record and see what the public wants. But I think when the insurance company is gonna come by tomorrow, take a look at it. I believe they're gonna recommend that we close the tennis courts. I just want to bring it up to your attention. The
Why
cracks are
don't-
pretty bad.
why
The
don't we-
sinkhole in the bottom the sinkhole is pretty
Well, that
bad.
was my next
Why don't we
question,
just
is how
restore
would
the
you close
sinkhole?
that in
We,
regards to?
we have to
the-
yeah, we couldn't, and we're supposed to
I mean,
blacktop.
I just saw cut it out, dig it out.
We could do that.
resurface. You don't have to resurface the whole thing, just
Yeah.
repair the hole.
We could do that too,
And-
absolutely.
and Instead of going through insurance and all that,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, she utilizes them as for camp. I mean, we
Right.
gotta do
Okay.
some maintenance, we'll do some
Oh, wait,
maintenance.
we'll cut that off and then fill it with K-crete or concrete or something?
Anything,
Yeah, okay.
anything. I mean, it just make them usable for Nancy.
All right.
that's all.
Just make sure the cracks aren't bad enough. Just take a look at it one more time.
Okay.
Okay?
And I want to
Also-
mention something also, because I do a drive around the village every day, and on Sunday, I was surprised to see so many, I don't have a problem with the kids using stuff, so let's put that out there. But I was surprised to see on the tennis court, there must have been about 25, 30 kids in there, and it looked like they were playing soccer.
Yes. I do.
So, yeah, I had seen it, so I'm a
That's
little
all over the
concerned
place
with
now,
that hole now, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, but the pickleball,
With the
good
tennis
idea.
courts,
Yeah, take a look big.
my idea would be, and this is just really ideal, in my opinion. If you're gonna resurface, I'm resurface. Take the basketball holes that are in the pavilion, put them on the tennis court. Make the tennis court a basketball court, make it a tennis court and a pickleball court. Because the pickleball is really just the lines on top of the tennis lines, basically. But I would love to see those basketball hoops out in the tennis court instead of under the pavilion. That would eliminate the need to leave the pavilion open, number one, for during the fall and the winter, when people want to use basketball. They could just go onto the tennis courts, which are not locked, and open up. So. And it would really help me out with you, because all I'm gonna do is play ball under there. But we can make the tennis courts into a 3-4 sport thing. And people might say, oh, somebody wants to play tennis and somebody wants to play basketball. In the entire history of Buchanan, I don't think that's ever happened. The two people are going to play the same thing.
It will now.
No, as soon as you said it.
So that would be ideal. I don't know what it would take for them to take those basketball nets out and put them on the court. But
I don't think it's even worth it. I think it's just
Yeah,
finding new
they're
ones.
off, but-
Mhm. Yes, I
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, but not.
It's more work
if you're
taking
gonna
them
do
out.
those
Yep.
poles, then you're gonna disturb the blacktop that's there, and I mean, how
Yeah.
Okay.
expensive are those poles?
take
No,
the
it's more work taking them out
Yeah.
and putting them and relocating.
Mhm.
Better off just putting new one.
All right.
Put
but
some
if you
nice ones
take
up
the
too.
Basketball
Yeah.
ones out of the pavilion, you just slice it down to the flooring, right? And then just cover that, right?
You could
Yeah.
just,
Not pull the whole thing out of the ground.
you could cut it and just part
Yeah.
the hole.
Mhm.
The problem with that though, having the pavilion is an asset for the village residents and having coverage best.
But yes, makes a difference.
Is a benefit to a lot
Yeah.
of people.
On a hot day, absolutely. I'd rather play on it, yes. Oh,
Yeah,
rainy,
that-
yeah,
So I understand the concern during camp, but
Yeah.
every
Okay.
other time.
agreed.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, we have the pavilion, we are so lucky to have that.
You're very lucky.
So just leave.
Nice thing.
Yeah, I agree. What hours is the pavilion open?
They're supposed to be open during the day.
Yes,
The highway is supposed to open them up.
Yep.
And then
police
the
closing
police
there
close them at
at
night.
dusk. Yes,
That's, yeah. Somebody just asked what the hours, I'm not sure if they got the microphone, what the hours of the pavilion are supposed to be, That-
Not during
yeah.
camp.
but not yet, camp, it's
during
not,
Nevermore.
yeah.
And while we're on that, I have a question as well. The lighting system in there,
yes,
it's on all night.
yeah, it's supposed to have, it was supposed to be a timer. Let me check on that. Thanks for letting me know. It's supposed to be on a timer.
Yes.
I understand we have LEDs, but electricity is still the
Yeah,
same
it's not-
price.
yeah,
Electricity.
mhm.
Yeah, those are supposed to be on timers.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad you
Well,
told me, okay.
So
When they
if
lock
Mentioned
the,
to me the other
something
day
faulty,
that
then we need to fix it.
they like
Yeah.
Yeah, it
this,
might
they
be the
can
timer
see
might be
things
off or
that
something,
see
yeah.
things. But I agree, they should.
I'll check on that tomorrow. Mhm.
Those are new from last year, aren't they?
Yes.
Just had them installed
And they're
with the
nice.
grant.
South the grant, yep.
I mean, maybe just one stays on,
No, yeah, that's true, yeah,
you know,
That's
as
what
a
we're-
security
to have something there.
function, but not all of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll double check that tomorrow.
Oh, good. Anything else for us, Nancy, while you have the podium?
The top of my head,
Okay,
but I will be emailing if I think of anything.
okay.
Right, is that it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, next is a discussion of the fund balance policy.
Sure, I provided really forward a draft fund balance policy, again, just to maybe discuss it at the next board meeting. Made some minor changes to it, I'll get you a new draft, just some wording, the policy still remains the same as a whole. Actually, our auditor gave me a recommendation, so I'll get that update to you, and then whenever the board wants to vote on it, that's something that we'll discuss.
Oh, good. And I do want to say something, I apologize, I didn't say it in the beginning. Trustee Murray is not going to be with us this evening, and we have trustee-elect Robert Wheeler on the video there,
Mhm.
on Zoom. So, moving right along, budget presentation,
Okay,
it's that time of the year.
let me share my screen. Okay, so first of all, thanks boards for giving me the opportunity to have this budget presentation or do that on an annual basis. The board has to adopt the budget by May 1st. So what I'm going to do right now is give you a summary of what the budget would be effective for next year. Go through some historical data, give you some background of how we got where we are. Some recommendations, one recommendation is more severe than others. We'll get into that as well. But that, and at least will give you that opportunity for the board to have something for the public hearing we need to have on April 5th. And then this will be posted on the website tomorrow morning, so the public can see it as well. Okay. So the first is a summary of what we got, where we are right now. The proposed tax rate, or tentative tax rate, is an increase of 1.91% increase, which is probably the smallest increase in at least 5 to 8 years, and we have such a small increase. We're talking about an increase of the taxable value of $11.77. Increase of overall of $51.69 for the fiscal year for the average taxpayer. Average taxpayer, just to give everybody an understanding, is assessed value of $4,393. That equates to a full market value of about $451,000. So a house that's valued $451,000 has an assessment of $94,393. This is what I'm going by, and I based on our assessment row, just one family houses. That's what I try to focus on. So that for average taxpayer, that means $51.61 for the year, or $4.31 for the month. Our assessment row actually went up a little bit by 0.41%, very small. First increase since the first increase from the last 2 years. We had 2 decreases in the last 2 years. This is the first time we have a small increase in the assessed value, mainly due two building permits that went through. We had one for Entergy for they had the pad, and they had to do some work on the building they're building next to the pad. But most of it was some people doing improvements in their houses. We actually had a decrease of total expenses, which is a good news, of 1.27%. That was mainly due for health insurance, our retirement, our workers' comp. Actually, all that came in very good this year. So that helped us offset the tax rate increase as well. But our revenues also went down by 2.51%. One thing I want to discuss later on, which is very important, is HOTEC. We got the pilot arrangement ending with HOTEC in a couple of years, and as well as the cessation fund decreasing every year. We started 80%, goes down to 10% a year. So that's again, I'm repeating myself for the people in case they don't realize it. We've been having this discussion before HOTEC closes. So now we're actually seeing the impact of what's going on. So our HOTEC revenue went down by $200,000. Our cessation fund also went down by $96,000. So we get a double hit, and that hit will continue every year from this point forward until it becomes zero. One other item that I want to discuss with the board, I want to thank Steve Aker. We've been having a lot of discussion on the water. We've had a lot of complaints over the water rates. And as I promised to what the discussion was, it was mainly due, again, Entergy. When Entergy was there, they had 2 meters that were not working. They were subsidizing everybody else. We were charging them almost $200,000 a month. Their bill went down to $50,000. Since there was no actual reading, we don't know if that was extra money that we were billing them or that we were using the right amount of water. But now we finally have the actual water rates readings from all the water meters at HOTEC. So now we actually have an idea of what the water is going to use. We can relate that to how much we're buying. So now we have a balanced budget finally. So one thing I would like to discuss is creating a two scales of water rates. One for most of the residents and another one for commercial users. A little higher for the commercial, and then also I'm recommending a decrease to the residential rate. So therefore the residents should do a decrease in the water usage, number one. And number two, we've been billing the residents every 6 months. So what happens is, I'll show you I'll show you the scale, what it looks like. It's almost like your tax rate, the more money you make, the higher more you pay. So what was happening is, if over 6 months, you might hit a higher scale, so you have to pay a higher rate. So now we go down to a quarterly basis, which what we used to do, and Cindy and Sharon have volunteered to do the additional work to help the residents, is that now the people might fall to a lower scale. So hopefully you get a double benefit. One is a lower rate, and second, a lower payment as well. The commercial were paying on a monthly basis, so therefore they were getting a benefit because they were paying on a monthly basis. They might be a lower scale. So therefore, the commercial helps offset the resident rate a little bit. So that's my recommendation for next year's budget regarding that. So going back to the HOTEC, my next bullet point there, consider increasing tax rates as a proactive action against the loss of the pilot and cessation fund. Right now, we got a 1.91% increase. I'm going to show you later on, and you're going to see it there, is I actually worked this out, I guess, with the auditors, because I don't like working in the vacuum. I work with everything with auditors to make sure I do everything the correct way. And we talked about possibly increasing the tax rate by additional 6% on top of this. And I'll show you why. So that way we can offset the big decrease. In 3 years, we're going to be seeing a $1,116,000 decrease between the pilot and cessation fund. If we spread it out, we could do a 6% increase versus a 40% increase in the next 3 years. So again, that's the option for the board to discuss. The alternative is, if we get a new pilot arrangement with HOTEC that actually stretches that out beyond the point of when it terminates, then we don't have to worry about that. But I'm trying to give you the worst case scenario in case we don't reach an agreement, and try to offset the impacts. Because one of the years I was here when this happened, when originally we didn't have an agreement with HOTEC, with Entergy, we saw a 40% increase in taxes. I do not want to see the residents see a 40% increase or 45% increase again. So we lever it off. Maybe we might charge 6% this year. We can reach an agreement. The next year we don't have to do a 6%. So something for the board to consider. I try to show graphics, but also in my budget message, I detail this in my budget message. Hopefully you guys read it, and it can provide you some background as well. Okay. The other thing I try to do is one concern that I had for many years as well is the water fund was subsidizing the general fund. We were transferring six, seven, you'll see this later, 6, 7, 8, 900,000 dollars out of the water fund to the general fund. I don't think that's prudent accounting methods. I don't think that's proper. I don't think that's fair to the water customers.
But we already stopped that.
We stopped it, but it's always been, it's still budgeting for. So that's another benefit because I'm removing that from the waterfront. So that's another benefit. I can decrease the expense out of the waterfront to keep the rates lower for the waterfront as well. So this is the first time you'll see in my shop, maybe 15 years, that we're not gonna actually hit the water fund to subsidize the general fund. So that's another thing I want to bring up to you. And then later on, I would like to talk to the board about having a workshop in the future to talk about capital projects. Have the departments come here. I have a 5-year capital project list to provide to the board. And then we can have a discussion with each department head, and then we can set priorities and see how we're gonna fund those projects after the board decides what they want to do. So a lot, but a lot to digest, but at least good to give you information. So just to give you some historical information. This is what the taxable assessed value, the taxable assessed value for the village. As you can see, we had a great year back in 12 and 13. Assessed value was very high, over almost 8 million, close to 8 million. The assessment has been decreasing over time. Now we actually leveled off a little bit, and we had, like I said, we have a small increase this year. So as the assessment goes down, even if taxes remain, if the expenses remain exactly the same, and we have a decrease in the assessment, I have to increase taxes just to keep a balanced budget. So people don't understand, how come your expenses stay the same, but my tax is gonna go up? If we have a tax cert or grievances, I have to make up that loss. So somebody files a grievance or a tax cert. I'll get into one big one later on. This ties in with that as well. This is the change in the tax rate over a year. Again, just for information purposes, the 23-24 is one of the lowest probably since 2015 and 16, to give you some analysis of what the tax rate increase is gonna be. This is just like showing the major expenses. We had a decrease in the police department. We had a decrease in street maintenance, retirement, both for police and fire. We had a decrease in that as well. And again, as the older police officers and DPW guys who were a higher tier, they got a higher benefit. They're beginning to retire. So now the new rates are kicking in. The newer guys are coming in. They pay higher. They pay longer. So hopefully we'll see this going on for a couple more years before the cycle starts all over again. That's we know. Anybody in the county will know everything goes in cycles. Then we might go back up again in 10 years. But then hopefully I'll be retired. But that's okay.
Marcus, can I have one question?
Sure.
The decrease in street maintenance, what is that based upon? Just so I know.
Yeah, street maintenance. I'll tell you right now. I got my other spreadsheet with the details. So give me 1 minute. Like I said, if I go by too fast or you have any questions, please stop me.
I mean, are we just doing less work, or is it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go there right now. Hold on a second.
Is that the newer? Yeah. Is that the newer employees coming?
That's the
in
new
at lower
employees coming
rate?
in. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the people retiring and the new people coming at a lower salary. That's
So it's off the employee.
correct. Also employees, $58,000, and that's mainly due for the new negotiations we've done with the DPW, lowering the salaries. So as the people retire with a higher salary, people coming in
Just one
much lower.
clarification, that's all. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Again, this is general information for the taxpayers to know how the money's spent. So you can see between public safety is 19%, which are, so you can see what the percentages are. Benefits are 25% of the overall budget. So, so the idea is if we get negotiation reducing our benefits, then that's a big piece of the pie, is 25% of the pie. Next is by group. So again, personnel benefits, as you can see between the two, is 60%. Again, we provide a service. We don't provide a product. So we need personnel to do the work necessary to make everybody happy. So at least everybody understands that's where most of the money comes in. Contractual, and again, a lot of the contractual is not controllable. It's salt. It could be maintenance of equipment. It could be roads. Everything that you can think about is on the contractual. And our debt service is one of the lowest. It's at 3%, and we have very, very low debt service. Public safety is the biggest part of our pie, so that's in public safety, that's the police, fire department, and building. Building, I'd like to explain that, is considered public safety. It's health and safety for the public as well, so that's combined in the public safety department. Next is just, again, showing the police expenses, like, it's contractual and personnel. That's our police department, we provide a service, so there's not much there you can control. So between benefits and personnel, there's not much left. What's left behind is buying bullets, bulletproof vests, and whatever else that's necessary. So it's it's beyond our control what we can do in the police department. So the water is a wastewater expenses, a very important aspect to our municipality. We have a sewer treatment plant, which we call a wastewater treatment plant. Most of it's contractual. It's all the supplies, all the chemicals that we need to treat the treatment plants. You can see even for salary and benefits, a very small piece of the pie. It's all the chemicals we need to actually operate the plant. Medical, show you that in the last 2 years, it's been pretty stable. Thank God. I mean, it spiked down 1 year, spiked up a little bit, but now we're a little level. It's good, but we don't know how long that's going to last.
So we spend for medical contributions about $1 million.
Correct. Very good. Yep, exactly right. Yep.
It's not cheap to have medical.
No. And actually, that continues to go up.
Yeah.
Retirement, like I described before, we had a decrease in the retirement bill, which is good news, but again, everything goes in cycles. In the next couple of years, we'll probably see that going back up again as people start retiring and new people coming in and the retirement benefit starts going up. And again, the retirement system, New York State, just to get everybody know, the retirement is based on New York State retirement system. It's controlled by the state controller's office.
Right.
They guarantee everybody's benefits is a guaranteed benefit everybody receives. Correct. So he has to budget for that. So if he doesn't make the money in the stock market, then he makes it up by coming to us. So thank God we have a little decrease, but if you have a crash in the stock market, we might have a big increase in retirement. Again, it's uncontrollable, and the controller's office just sends everybody a bill and you got to pay it. You have no choice. This is the explanation of the revenues that we lost. We lost the pilot from the Holtec, $100,000. And also Holtec payments went down by increased by 300. So what happened was the pilot went down, but also the infrastructure money went up. So we actually got the increase there. We actually increased the sewer service charge. That's money we get from the school district as part of the services that we provide to the sewer. So that went up a little bit. State aid, that's the cessation fund, went down by 96. And then the biggest hit is the $400,000 transfer that we should get from the water fund. So I'm eliminating that transfer to keep the water rates at a more level rate for everybody. This here gives you the major revenues. What the most important here that bring your attention to is the pilot, which is the blue line. Hopefully it shows up blue. You see what's happening to that pilot. So how do we make that up? By increasing taxes. So again, just to show you, besides the pilot, there's not much other revenue we receive, and that has to be made up by taxes. Okay, hopefully that's self-explanatory. Next is the water fund. This is the part that hopefully now we're ending. I went back to 2008, 2009, but it goes back further than that. As you can see, this is the revenue that's been budgeted to transfer from the water to the general fund as a catch-all, as the extra revenue to the water, to the general fund. Now, hopefully this ends. I'm recommending 100,000, and that 100,000, I think is legitimate for the water fund to pay to the general fund, but that's Cindy and Sharon time, all the billing. Now we're going to quarterly basis. All the collection, the ladies do the collection. Han Engineering does all the water testing that has to be done. So that 100,000 is the actual expense now that actually should be paid from the water to the general fund. And that's why I want to keep it out from this point forward.
And I know this was just how business was done for many, 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 many years.
Correct.
And we can do that legally from a water fund, but
Absolutely.
you can't do it from a sewer fund.
That's correct. Sewer cannot touch sewer. Now, I'm not saying we broke any laws. You're absolutely right.
No.
The mayor, as the mayor said, we never broke any law. You can transfer all the money you want from the water to the general fund. But again, I don't think it's proper accounting. And I forgot one point, Standard and Poor's with the bond rating actually was concerned about that as well. So we actually also meeting their requirements. If we have to go a bond rating, that helps us in the future as well. This is an important little piece of information. The average tax bill, like again, like I said, for a house assessed at $443,000, I got the real number here, $737 is assessed at $4,393. So that person home will normally pay $9,130. So if I break up where your money goes to, so 30% comes to the village, 57% goes to the school, 3% goes to the town, and another 10% goes to the county. So at least you see where your money is expended and how it is arrived at. And, for average tax bill of $2,700 compared to what I pay in the city is pretty reasonable. So,
And just to note,
Considering the-
30% of that
Yeah, and
is,
considering the services, yes.
yes, exactly.
and only 30% of that bill goes back to the village.
That's correct. Only 30% of that bill. And that's what people say, oh, my taxes are so high. I always tell people, look at what you pay for
That's correct.
your municipality. You get twice a week garbage collection. You get a call, you get service right away. You get a police calls right. The services here are class A, and you're paying reasonable amount of taxes. My only concern is what's going to happen with the pilot.
Look at your school taxes.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's what I like to point this out a lot because when they come in to pay for the ladies, I pay so much in taxes. How much you pay for the services that you're getting from the village? So that goes to that. So then, so the next one is just showing you again the actual dollars amount. So you can see $2,700 for the village, $900 for the county, $200 for the town, and $5,202 for the school. Now I have to remember that $5,200 is last year's taxes. The $2,700 is my new taxes for the village. So when the school raises their bill, I see our percentage actually going down and school going back up again. So just want to make people aware of that as well. This here is just showing revenues, expenses, showing where we stand financially overall over time. We've had good years. We've had like one-time revenues. We kept expenses down. We've been very positive in the last couple of years, and so right now we're in a very positive financial position. This shows you, this is an important factor. This is an important slide. I want everybody to understand this. The little line that goes across is what Moody's and Standard & Poor's recommends our fund balance to be, 15%. And that's what the fund balance policy you adopted, that's what we'll be at. As you can see, we were above that in 9, 10, we matched it in 11, and ever since then, we've been way underneath it. Happy to report 21 and 22, we're actually over the 15%. Just to let you know, we're over by $489,000. So according to the fund balance policy, that $481,000, the board can use for one-time expenses, capital projects. So you can set that money aside for reserves. And then when we sit down with the department heads, you can say, okay, I can use that money to pay off for equipment or a project, whatever you want to do. And we can keep that money that way. If the decision of the board to go to bond, and now I have a fund balance policy, and we matched it. We took away the $400,000 from the water. I think we'll get a very good rating and very good interest rate. So that's my goal, was to get the village in a strong financial position to protect our residents. And also we have money set aside in case of an emergency. If you look back in 16 and 17, you had no fund balance. And those years you had no fund balance in the water fund. If you had an emergency, I don't know what the village would have done. I would have to go back to maybe what I did in Peekskill and have to do a tax anticipation note or borrow money to pay for operations, which you don't want to do. So we're in a good financial position now. I just want to emphasize
It took
that.
time to build that back.
Correct.
From where it was.
We
and-
thank you for that.
Correct.
And what I want to ask you, so the fund balance now is at what, 1.7?
Tell you exactly what it is.
And where was it last year and compared to this year, that there's a
Yeah,
$500,000 increase?
Yeah, last year we were 1.1,
Okay,
this year we're 1.7.
okay. So I know 200,000 of that was from the negotiations from Holtec, because that came in after our budget was settled. So where's the other money?
Sales tax, and when the auditors come in, they're gonna go through this as well.
Okay,
But sales tax, we almost $200,000 in extra sales tax.
okay.
The sewer fee, we were about $170,000 over on sewer fee. Building permits, we were over. Building permits, with all the fees, we got $123,000 over. Those all the building permits, a lot from
For whole
Coltech,
town.
from the pad and stuff like
Right.
that. We had a big one there. Insurance recovery, which again is a one-time, is $31,000. Mortgage tax, $46,000 over. So it's a little bit of everything. So, and then they have in here too, which has to be subtracted. We got the state grant for the sidewalks on Route 9A.
Yes.
That they have it in here as $100,000 as a grant, but we actually spend it, so it really shouldn't be added in here, but
Yeah.
for ordering purpose, they added in there. And then we also got, when we sold the bonds last year, we actually got a premium of 86,000. They put that in here too, but that's gonna be a reserve to pay future debt. So like I said, it's a little bit of everything. And then on the other side, on the expense side, the departments did a good job. We now on the purchase order system. The departments come in and report everything. I gotta tell you, the departments do a great job. They come into Cindy or me and say, we need to buy this, do we have enough money? And they hold off. If we have short on something, they say, you gotta hold off, wait and see what happens next month. So our expenses came down lower as well. Okay. We try. It's not myself, it's Cindy and Sharon. They help me a lot. Yeah. And next is the fund balance of the water fund. As you can see, again, just to let everybody know, in the year 16 and 17, you actually had a deficit of $3,000. Okay, so
What a
that's
surprise to me when that happens.
all right. Yes, yeah. So just to let you know, we're actually come a long way on this as well. We actually are only tell you exactly. We're like $96,000 away from reaching the 15%, but we're in a very comfortable position on the water. The benefit of the water fund as well is, even though we're only 96,000 away, we actually have a restricted fund balance of $396,000 that was set aside back in 1980 something by the board to set aside for emergency purposes. So not only do we have this fund balance, I have an additional $396,000 that if the board wishes, we can combine that together, okay? And then we have money set aside for any capital projects in the water fund as well. And we can discuss that part of the fund balance policy. Good?
So just
Okay.
a quick question.
Of course.
While it's on my mind.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
So
Absolutely.
wasn't that money supposed to be used for the new water meters or?
No, that was, no, do you remember, Cindy? No, no, no. All I know is I found the original resolution when they adopted, I forgot, you could tell it was old because the way it was typed up. But that money was set aside many, many years ago. But again, I talked to the auditors. All the board can modify that. Only the board can modify that. So the board can modify that and say, okay, I want to come bring $100,000 into this. And the rest of it can go into capital projects, and then we keep the fund balance what it is, and then any capital projects, we can move forward as well on that one.
In the 396, that's assigned or unsigned?
That is called restricted. That is restricted. So only the board can change that. Exactly.
Why didn't we do it back then?
What was
Did
that?
anybody know about it when we were at zero?
Yeah, I know.
Negative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was zero, but they couldn't touch the restricted. And at that time, the board, good point, Stephanie. And nobody transferred the money for restricted into that. So we actually had a deficit. I've never seen a deficit in my life, but you had a deficit. And that's 40 years of municipal experience. So, all right. So at least we're in a good point right now. That's all that really matters.
All right.
Okay, next is, as I was recommending to the board before, this is what the proposed new rate structure to be. To the left is what's current rates right now. So right now, a resident, 1,000 cubic feet is the minimum charge. 1,000 cubic feet is a lot of, how many gallons is that? Hold on a second.
Probably gonna be 90% of your revenue.
Yes, so I want to do a quick calculation that I should have done it before, but I think 1,000 times 7.6 something.
Like 74,000, 76,000.
Yeah, it's like 76,000 gallons of water. So it's a high minimum, which is fine, but people are reaching into the next level. So what I'm doing, that's when the $9 was kicking in, and a lot of people were complaining about the $9 kicking in. So that's why I'm recommending bring that down to $8. And I think the majority of people go from 9 to 8. But then for the commercial, I'm going for 9.25. And then next step and next step. So you can see the sliding scale. And this is similar to what Peekskill does. Peekskill does have a commercial rate as well.
Makes sense.
Okay, and that way at least balance things out a little bit, and I think it'll help. I think it'll help the residents two ways. Like I said, first quarterly versus 6 months, and then the rate going down at the same time. So hopefully, what I'm saying, we listen to the residents. I was hoping for this going to be an outcome the way it came out. I think everybody should be happy with this. Okay, this is one that really I'm going to need your help on and see what the board wants to do. This shows you what the reduction of the cessation fund over time is gonna be. So if we do a 6% increase, that's what you see, where it says recommended assumption 6%. The $4,675,000 versus $4,410,000, which is the current proposed rate. That's what the levy will go up to, and to the right shows the pilot, the cessation fund, and where we stand. So even a 6% increase at the end of 2031-32, we're still going to be negative by $193,000. And that can be made up hopefully by fund balance or some other factor. I tried to get as close as possible to zero, but I couldn't. But again, this is forecasting. As everybody knows, in accounting economics, it could change tomorrow. So I'm just forecasting the best I can right now based on the information I have right now. So if the board can work on a new pilot, all this changes next year.
What's the left side of this page?
The left side is we kept the levy as it is right now, right? What we need to balance out is the 1.4 million for the pilot, the 998,000. So our levy right now will be $6,809,433. That's our levy. So I'm saying if we do a 6% increase, everything balanced out, we're getting $264,000 more. If the board approves this, we'll get $264,000 more, which I recommend that will be put aside as a reserve to offset the pilot. So we get an extra 200, extra 400, extra 300, but then we start getting the big hits, and that's where you get to the negatives.
And where does that extra tax money go? Is
We
that
put into
separate
reserves.
fund? So you create a new fund.
Yeah, no, it'll be a reserve against the fund balance. So what you'll see when you see for the next year report, you'll be assigned, unassigned, they're restricted, like we have in the waterfront right now, we're restricted. So that will be controlled on the village board. And then when we get to a point we have negative, like I said, I'll ask the village board, we have to use the restricted to offset the loss due to the pilot.
Okay, can I ask you something? What year did you come in?
Damn it, 2000,
Forgot.
oh, it's 2019.
2019, so I remember having a discussion at the board
Yes.
meeting. Nick Zachary specifically asked about doing a reserve for when the big hits came. We were told at the time, absolutely not. So that's why we didn't do it.
Correct.
Our first loss with the Entergy was what, 20? I think the first plan went down in April of 2020. Unit 3 went down April 30th of 2021. So, yeah, we were specifically told no.
Mhm.
So we had that discussion. And I know a lot of the residents became very upset
Mm-hmm,
about that. I mean, financially planning, I think that's the way to go, to prepare for those hits. But just so you know, I had heard from a lot of the residents at that time that they were pretty upset because they weren't sure if they were going to be selling in the near future or they would still be here,
mm-hmm.
and they weren't interested in
Putting money aside.
putting money aside if they weren't going to be here. So that will be some of
Oh,
the.
yeah,
No,
Yeah.
that was, I just want to
Yeah.
do a historical thing.
Absolutely.
That was the conversations that were.
and I can see that
being had at
happen, and
time.
I could definitely see that happening. What he
So-
was talking about is I forgot the terminology, it
Yeah,
was
we couldn't
specific.
save up to a certain, we,
Yeah.
like our fund balance.
Correct, it was a
So-
tax stabilization
Mhm.
fund that he wanted to create. That's why I was going to the order, is that that's more restricted. But if you do a restriction, which the village board can set aside, the
Okay.
orders felt comfortable about that. He could discuss that with you when you have the public hearings. He'll be here that night. But he said, feel 100% comfortable, especially since we have this information in front of us.
No, I
And,
was just telling you the conversation
Absolutely.
that went,
And
the historical
Correct.
conversation.
and I think it would have been pretty difficult to do that, but those are the years we did like a 30% increase, a 40% increase. And then on top of that, do another 6 or 7% increase. I think it would have been kind of tough to do it. But I'm saying now, since I got a 1.1, less than 2% increase, I think it's more, you can swallow it a little bit more and plan for the future. But the other choice, if you, like I say, pay me now, pay me later. The other choice, you're gonna see a 50 or 60 or 50% increase in 3 years. So it's a board decision. Just throwing it out there as trying to be proactive and plan ahead. That's all it is.
Marcus, one question on that. Is that a recommendation also from the auditor, or they didn't make that recommendation?
No, I actually worked with the auditor on the spreadsheet to make sure everything works out properly. He said, I'm not here to do that recommendation. I'm here just to do
Yeah.
auditor. I'm just saying, if you want to set up a restriction and do this, he had no issue. There's been no management letter or comment. He said he had no problem. And he says that planning ahead makes sense, but it depends on what the board and the residents want to do. He'll never push one way or the other.
Understood. Just one clarification.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next question would be is what a 6% increase would mean. So what I try to do in this chart is show you, and this chart is a little bit in the budget detail as well, but it shows you what our current tax rate increase, which would be a 9.91% increase, which is $51.69 or $4.43. A 6% increase will be additional $165 a year, or $13.76 for a month, for a total between the two of $216.81 a year, or $18.07. This is what the options are. Stay at the 1.91 or go to the 8.03. So again, we don't have a public hearing yet. This is going to be publicized and everything like that, but I want to give you what because I know people ask, what would that mean to me? And now we have information
Does this tie into the?
per month, $18 per month. Yeah, exactly.
Marcus, does this tie into the previous slide with the difference of 264?
Yes, it should, because as you can see, you see the
365.
yeah, the 365 is the 100,
Mhm.
which is the 1.1 and 2 and the 260 and the 264.
I
So it's a combination of both, yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, the chart just shows you 6%. This shows you a combination of both.
Yeah.
Good question, though. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, that's my last, and so I just want to go a little bit more into detail if you guys don't mind. I just want to see if there's any other questions on the presentation. No, okay, so I want to show you just one more. Just want to go with some additional detail on one more thing. I'm sorry, I get really excited about this kind of stuff.
Wow, can't tell.
So what I'm doing here, just showing you, this is what the general public is going to receive on the website. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I gotta stop sharing. Sorry. Oh, let me end that presentation. Close that. Okay, we're back here. Perfect. Okay, good. So this is what's going to be published on the website. You already started it. It's the same presentation that I showed everybody. So what I want to do here is just to go over some notes on my budget message. I want everybody to read it. I try to be as detailed as possible. Again, I don't want to hide anything from everybody. I'm be transparent as possible. So on the budget message, I just want to go over a couple more details. First, on this page, which is page 1 of our budget message, the assessment row. An important aspect, the biggest concern I had is the sheetrock plant. Right now, they filed tax cert a couple of years ago. It expires. The agreement, when you do a tax cert, it freezes for 3 years. It comes up again at the end of 2024 or 25, and 25 is the same year the pilot ends at the same time. Okay, so they can file another tax cert. They file with the school district. I found out from the town, they filed with the school district already. They're looking to decrease the school from 410,000 assessment to $196,000, which is a loss of $242,000, and that will go back 3 years. So if they win that, it's going to be about $700,000 or $800,000 refund the school has to make if that happens. Now that's the school tax. That's the school taxes. One, because to me, I look at it as a whole. That's one aspect. The concern I have is that if they file a tax suit against us again, then we can see a reduction in our assessment roll because they are a big piece of the pie. So right now, they're paying to the village $216,000 for 45 acres, 45 acres on the waterfront. So they're paying $216,000. My concern is to get another tax, so I can see that decrease by $100,000. So that's uncontrollable. They file tax cert. The problem is that just, it might get to more detail, is based on the equalization rate. Equalization rate drops every year, so therefore they're gonna win. So they're gonna get a reduction, and we have no control over that. So I just want to make sure that I want to be, if I, when we have the same discussion 2 years from now, you can't say I didn't tell you. That's my concern, what's going to happen in 2 years. That they're going to come down, but the school is going to see a substantial decrease in taxes. That it could be at least $700,000 or $800,000.
And that alone is a case in point for not having manufacturing on the waterfront.
Correct. Just to give you an example, I got the AMS proposal for taxes on 5 acres. We're gonna be receiving a minimum of $250,000 in village tax. And the school is gonna get almost $500,000 by AMS. Just to give you an example, versus $216,000 for 45 acres on the waterfront. But I wanna, again, wanna be transparent. That's a big concern I have, but if that happens, I just wanna let you know what's going to happen. That's one thing I wanna show you there. And then I'll go to page 6. If you want to follow me on page 6. Here I talk about the revenues, and my biggest issue again is HOTEC. The pilot expires in 2025-26. And the cessation fund ends in 27-28. So again, just to give you information on how we're going to be affected by that. And then page 7, I'll talk about the dependence on the water fund, and we're taking that away. Again, like I said, Standard & Poor's highly recommended we end that dependence on the waterfront to do that done, to get the money from them. Again, benefits worked out very well. Benefits this year. We don't know what's going to happen in the next few years, but again, the pilot and cessation fund is the biggest issue. And my suggestion again is unless we get an extension or a long-term agreement from HOTEC, we're going to keep on facing this issue every couple of years. Page 9. Again, for information purposes, tax cap. We haven't talked about that much, but the state still has a tax cap. If it wasn't for the issue of the cessation fund and HOTEC, we probably can meet the tax cap for the first time in villages since tax cap was created. But I'm recommending that we don't do it to protect the future of taxpayers by spreading out the payments of the loss of HOTEC and the cessation fund.
Well, at one time, there was a benefit to the tax cap for the communities because they would get a refund check.
Right, and that's
They
over.
stopped that.
Yeah, that's over. Exactly. Page 10, just for additional information. Again, I detailed the losses for the cessation fund and HOTEC. On the bottom of the page, year 26-27, we lose $1,116,472. The year after that, we lose another $276,000. The year after that, we lose $552,000. Combined total is almost $1.7 million. In
And
those
that's
3 years.
assuming no pilot payment whatsoever.
That's assuming the pilot goes the way it goes right now. Exactly. Yep.
Yes,
Okay. And it's definitely the cessation fund goes away,
yes.
but the pilot is something hopefully it could be renegotiated. Then
Sure it will. They should be there for another 10 to 12 years.
at least, exactly. Page 11, talk about the waterfront again, try to explain for the public in regards to the issue regarding what happened with HOTEC and Entergy in the past. We now have actual readings for both HOTEC and everybody else. We actually now have remote readings that we can read all the water meters. We're also hopefully working on getting remote readings regarding the water being purchased, and we can do analysis between what was bought and what was sold. We actually did one a couple of months ago, and we actually have 3.72% loss of water, which is very low. The average is 10%. So we actually are monitoring that. We actually hire a water detection company that comes in and actually goes throughout the village. They found a couple of leaks. We had the gas station had a leak. And 2 years ago, we had the big leak down at Wick, and they found it. So they're coming back again, and hopefully we find leaks that actually saves us money by doing that as well.
And we had done that, how many years ago when we did Tate Avenue, we had them come in at night, the water detection company, before we paved the road. So that
Correct.
we didn't have to rip it up. again.
Exactly. exactly.
got ripped up for gas.
And we're gonna do that again, exactly. At the bottom of the page,
Oh.
it shows for the public to see that's what the table's gonna change to. We go over the tables. Next is just, again, we talked, in this, it's just my summary page, just talking about the increase. This gives you a little summary of everything I talked about in the past. Everybody understands that. And very important, I need to say, I mean, I thank the board tremendously for their support through the process. The public, the department heads, the board members, the planning board and zoning boards, Cindy and Sharon have been fantastic. I couldn't do anything without their help. They're, whenever you need them, they're there. And I pass everything by them before I say anything, because they actually catch a lot of things that I don't catch. So I want to thank you very much for everything. And the department has been fantastic controlling the budget. They've been fantastic. The last page I have here is just, again, the summary of the same page in the presentation, so the public can see what's going to happen. And then actually, then this starts actual detail of the budget, so the public can see what the summary is. And then I broke down I got a summary of the expenses. I actually broke down every single department, how the money spent in every single department, have historical data, so you can compare historical data for the last 3 years compared to what I'm recommending. And then when you get all the way to the bottom, I actually have all the salaries, the benefits, for all the department heads, so they can see that. And then last page for the board, which will be important for the board. The fire department is the only department that we don't have the detail for. So the last page of your budget, I provided you what they had last year as their budget, what they recommend, what they would like to have, which I actually put in, and what the difference is. So that way, at least you have the detail of the fire department request as well. You have any questions on that? When we have the public hearing, I know the fire assistant chiefs will be here to answer any questions, but you have that information as well. So hopefully that's enough information that I didn't overload everybody, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I look forward to having the public hearings. And again, for the public, anybody has any questions, I'm available anytime. I gave my cell phone to everybody, whoever wants it. So everybody wants to call me, go through any items on the budget, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. So here to help.
Thank you very much, Marcus.
You're
So
welcome.
you know, Marcus, right, we're looking at a decrease in the Buchanan Energy Company budget for coming year.
Yes,
Thank you.
of course.
Marcus, great job. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Did
Thank
a
you.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Have some water or something?
I get my water, yes. Yes.
Countless hours, lots of time.
So I was just trying
Sure.
to with the restricted water. A resolution done in 1994.
Mm.
Said that it is only for repairs to the water system and not improvements.
Mhm.
Thank you, sir.
And,
1994.
and again, under what I checked, the village board can rescind that resolution. You can change it, you can do anything you want with it, but that's something if we want to discuss, when we talked about fund balance policy, we can have that discussion as well.
They'll do a new resolution,
Yes.
trumping that one.
Oh,
Interesting.
It's gotta be addressed.
Yeah.
One other point, I want to make sure that, the village board received their audit. The auditor will be here on April 5th to do a presentation. That will tie in to the public hearing as well, so everybody understands where we stand financially. So he'll be here to answer any questions on the audit as well.
And normally before they come to the regular meeting, what usually happens is, two board members will go and have the first preliminary view of that. And I've scheduled something for Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, and I'll be there. And I've asked, our new trustee, Bob Wheeler, to come in so that he can ask whatever questions. You guys have experienced this once, so. That's what we'll do on Tuesday morning, right eye and bushy tail. And then Wednesday night, then we all can ask questions and review it also.
Bob will be here.
I'm not sure. I hope he is, but we're not sure yet.
Well, if you can't,
no.
one of us be there.
If he can't zoom in, then sure, I'll let you know, and then you guys
Appreciate
can
that.
decide who would like to come in. Full disclosure.
Hmm.
Okay, so, Does any board members have anything they'd like to talk about? We've gone through the agenda. Stephanie, are we gonna have, executive session? Do you need executive session? No? Okay,
I do not.
Yeah, we'd like to have executive.
Okay,
session
you'd like to
for
have-
Personnel.
okay.
Can I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Obviously, we'd like to remind everybody that the Easter egg scramble is on Saturday at 10:30, and we would love to see you there.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Scramble.
Bunny rabbit everywhere. Okay, Easter bunny. Steve, anything for tonight?
No, just to thank Marcus for the job that he did also.
Appreciate it.
All the work that Marcus and George did on the water rate. I think now we have a much better control of how that rate is determined. There's definitely no guarantee of savings,
Mhm.
but certainly we'll have a better control. So thank you for working on that. And we'll,
Wait, I'm gonna say, Steve, thank you, because you gave a lot of time to sit down with us and go through everything. I appreciate your time.
no problem. And Peter, while you're here, I mentioned at the last meeting, the property that's on the corner of White Street and Northern Post Road. Do you have any update as to what is going on with that property? Because it is a complete disaster.
Yes,
Bring the mic to him, bring the mic. Relindo,
Once,
Relindo.
Right across from Reggie, across from
once,
Reggie.
Mr. Sarmiento, restored the property back to its original.
No. I'm sorry.
No,
I don't care about the help. I care about the fact that there's a tarp that's hanging off of it. That's
Yes,
about
he was not allowed to
build.
work on the building because of.
Okay.
Clause, so everything was put on a stop work order for him. It's been about 4.5 months. It's been restored. It's there. His architect and the firm, McIntyre, called to find out what his next step was. And I said, the planning board rescinded his application because of the lack of cooperation. And now he has to come in and reapply. And that has not happened. So now at this point, he hasn't come in to propose anything to start preparing the building and putting it back, making it go to what was approved. The original proposal for the building, it was relatively accepted. We came back with a second revision of the building. We don't have an actual architectural review board. The planning board is sort of actual input. They wanted some modifications to the building, but he altered the property at the same time.
Mhm.
So the building went on hold.
Right.
But they had a rough, accepted design of the building for what he was wanting to do, but that just stopped. So nothing's happened. So at this point,
At this point in time, and again, under your
yes,
jurisdiction, is there any type of violation or anything? Because it
Yep,
looks like
yep.
it's about to fall down.
yeah, it
It's
was
a
then.
disaster.
It was when he started with that.
As we drive through the village,
Which doesn't look.
not at all. So if there's anything that you could do, and I know you're working very hard to try to
More orders to
get a lot
eliminate,
of people
will be
into
issued.
compliance, but that's just a big eyesore.
yes.
And it looks in,
It's
without
not safe.
being on the air.
Mhm.
Thank you for the update. And just one last thing, Mayor.
Yeah.
Just,
Mhm.
the public hearings next week, just encourage all the residents to please come out. Ask a lot of questions, two very important between the IMA and the budget, really important factors. So please, everybody come out, ask questions. And that's all.
Good, thank you. Dan, what do you have for us tonight?
Really just to thank Marcus and Steve for addressing the water rates. It's, good work. The other property I have, well, not so much a specific property, but it's that time of year. We're watching real estate exchange hands and new owners come in and just not permit work. And we've had situations where we've had to issue stop work orders.
Yes.
I just want to know what can be done in the future to try and nip this stuff in the bud before it actually happens. And I would like to, somehow address that.
I believe
A
it
workshop meeting.
was not the monthly newsletter. It wasn't not information placed in there to contact the building department.
Yeah, the issue, I think the board members are saying that people are doing stuff illegally and
And a lot of this is happening on the weekend.
on the weekends, without.
It's happening on Saturday, Sunday.
Mhm. Correct.
The one
Like our
I'm
recent
talking about happened,
excavation?
Yes.
it happened on Saturday or Sunday. Right, so.
It was
The
immediately
only
addressed.
thing I can think of, because these are new property owners that come in and, we could say in one token, they don't know, we could say that. But, we don't get the notice of like when they're sold, when the property turns over, what is it, like a couple of months, Cindy, before the village is notified of it?
Well, not a couple of months, maybe a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks now, yeah, at one time it was
Yeah,
quite.
this would be a long time.
So, going back to new residents here, to do some type of a welcome letter. And, we did start that, we did have a rough draft for that. And, somebody just dropping it off, not in their mailbox, but in their door, welcome, the numbers. The building inspector, et cetera, et cetera. If you're going to do X, Y, Z, you need a permit.
Right.
We kind of did a bone of that. Maybe that's, I don't know, and you can always find out on Zillow when something is sold too, and
Well, it's just a
before they
bone-
start.
It's just a bone of contention with existing residents that have been here for so long and they go to, repave the driveway. And they do the right thing. They pull the permit.
Right,
Somebody like this comes in, right? A resident drives by and, they're disrupting the neighbor's, landscape next to them. And, right out the gate. And it's an issue. I wish it wasn't an issue, but it's a concern I have. That's all,
No, I understand, we're seeing it more and
you
more.
know? So. Just putting it out there.
All right, better work on that.
Any information that gets presented to me or what I see.
And it's tough because it's on a weekend, Peter's not on. I mean, can we somehow ask the police to put a stop work order on them on a Saturday or Sunday? I don't know how, I don't know what we can or can't do. But the point of the matter is, this is going on and, it's gotta be addressed.
I can talk to the police, maybe the best thing they could do if they see any construction going on is report it to Peter the next day he's in and then he could go check on it. But if I did check with the state on the possibility of that and the police doesn't have police powers they handle the building department and check on that, but if they see construction, they say, hey, Peter, I saw some guys working on this house on such and such a day, and and I know he follows up and that's the best
No,
we
I
can
know,
do.
Peter's been great. I
Yeah.
mean, whatever,
And, yeah,
I just want to make mention of the fact that the officers do alert me of things that they see after hours. Sometimes I'm here later at 9 o'clock, I'll drive around 10 o'clock before I leave, and I'll see things, and the next morning I address it. But the officers have been very proactive, contacting me or coming into my office, notifying the work that they know is being done when I'm not here, or Brian,
and Peter, you guys have been great. It's
So
just,
we're
I
trying.
think what's happened is it's been such a loose policy for so
So
long.
long.
And it's now like, there's a new sheriff in town and they have to know
Mhm.
that you can't just run rogue.
No,
And that's the point I'm trying to get across.
we already
That's
it
all.
in slowly,
Yeah,
except for the new residents.
Yeah.
yeah. Teamwork.
Teamwork. All input is greatly appreciated from anyone.
And your work has been great. And I
We're
appreciate it.
trying very
Yeah.
hard. We want to keep the village. the way it should be.
Exactly.
Good, thank you. Trustee Capicati, what do you have for us tonight?
I don't have much. Just to touch on what Dan was just saying, I think that these new people moving into the area don't really understand the restrictions. And they don't really understand code enforcement. So, I mean, it is good though that you are proactive
Yes,
when you are in to get on them, because they are affecting the lives of others around them. So, and they have to, the residents pull their permits look like they're supposed to, and Dan's got a great point, and it should, it's hard to catch them on the weekends, but I don't think they realize that they even need permits when they buy these new homes,
some of them have no idea.
and until they realize that, and on Monday morning, when you show up on the door, then it's a different story.
We just had an issue during last week. I
Mm.
spoke with one of the new owners of the property on Lindsay Avenue and questioned the fact he has other issues that he's addressing at this time, that he needed a new roof on his house. I didn't feel he needed one when I inspected it before it was sold, had another 15 years at least, but the contractor convinced him he needed a roof. He said, do you need a permit? I said, you absolutely need a permit, you need to see me. Then 2 days later, there's a new roof on the house and they're there working. And it was a big scale contractor, and English was not his primary language. He didn't know what I was talking about and said, did you need one? I said, when did you come to talk to me that you didn't need one? The city told me I didn't need it. This isn't Peekskill. This isn't town of Portland. This is the village of Buchanan.
Mm.
And second roof the house. If it had 2x4s as a primary roof structure, I would have maybe taken off down the frame. Because you can't double the 2x4. But, you know, so. The owner does not live there yet. He's in Long Island. He was aware of it. The contractor did it without him knowing about it. He came in today, because I called him immediately. He was offering it down for the contractor then submitting. But he had an interpreter come in the other night, right to help resolve.
It's easier to
Yeah.
do it right and
Yeah.
then instead of after.
It's gonna cost you more.
Other than that, just wanted to thank Marcus. Great job on that. That was a
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Great presentation. I know Steve worked a little bit on that water fund, which, you know, we did feel some heat from the community about, and
Yep.
I'm glad that you guys got that done.
Mhm.
What else? Springtime is here.
Yes.
Enjoy the nice weather. And, that's it.
Thank you. I just have a few announcements. Tomorrow at noon, the village is holding the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War commemoration. To recognize unsung patriotism of our Vietnam veterans. I happened to be in high school at the time when the war ended. I'm giving away my age. And the Vietnam veterans were not treated well. So we can make up for that now. March 29th was chosen. It was the last day the US troops departed Vietnam. The last helicopter went out of Saigon. And Hanoi released the last of its acknowledged POWs. So tomorrow it starts at noon. Everyone is welcome. It's on the second floor. And so come out to honor our Vietnam veterans. I did want to mention, I know we had gotten an email and I want to thank the highway department. The stairs at Lents Cove are beautiful. I mean, they did I just can't even, they compared to where it was and even the original steps. I mean, the steps are really great, a lot safer. You know, we were all concerned about people falling and getting hurt. I attended the March 15th Land Use Training Institute. There were a lot of interesting topics that was at the Westchester Community College, and they pertain to development, planning and zoning, board-based, etc. I was there. I saw Peter there. I saw Gary Bell there, and also and Eileen Absencher. So it was, it was pretty interesting meeting, and they had things about traffic calming measures, and so it was an interesting meeting. I also want to thank the beautification committee for the new flags out at the circle, the spring flags. So please support the beautification committee. All the funds that they raise, they use to do different things out at the circle, whether it's planting flags, whatever. It's a great group of people, and we want to continue to support them in their good work. And the next thing, something I want to discuss with the board, I'm not sure what the board would like to do. I know there's been comments around the county. I've had a few mayors contact me about the discharge of the radioactive water. I don't know if the village board would like to make a statement pertaining to that. My thoughts on the whole thing, I think I've said it a little bit before, but I don't think, I'm not signing on to something based on an anti-nuclear rhetoric. There's lack of scientific and technical knowledge. I think people are going to be very interested once they see what the process is and how a lot of the elements are taking out of it. And yes, it's tritium. I think I would recommend highly the April 27th DOB meeting that we're having. There should be a lot more information. I've also gotten some information, a presentation that was being done tonight at the BB school, the PTA there. And it was an hour presentation. Then there were questions and answers, and I was only staying for an hour, but I will send that presentation to the board. And if we could put that on the village website, I think people will be quite interested in what Dave Lockbaum, who is an independent expert, says about that. The alternative plan is not acceptable to the village of putting water tanks on the property. That is just not a consideration. And I just think more information is needed in educating the public. So in conjunction with that, I think in May, I would like to do a meeting, and have all the board members here. And also potentially have Dave Lockbaum, who's the independent expert on the DOB board, and also somebody from Entergy. And what we could do is set it up where people can send questions ahead of time. So something else for our staff in the office to do, or it could be sent to my email, but so we can compile those questions so that when the residents come in, they can be answered, because I'd like the people in the village to understand much better of what's going on over there at the decommissioning. Like I said before, the nuclear boogeyman came out again. And I think once people understand the facts of what's going on, it will, be more understandable of what's going on. So I'd like to sometime in May schedule, a special meeting to do that and allow anyone to come in to ask questions or understand. We'll do the presentation for them and everything. So would the board like to make a public statement addressing the radioactive water, or?
I feel that we all need to be educated more on it.
Okay.
I also feel that I agree with you that the public should actually educate themselves on it as well, and there should be a way to educate them, and offering that what you just offered them, I think is a good way to educate them. I really don't think that any of us are scientists, and the facts are the facts. I have heard many different views from people that claim that I tell them this is what happens. The NRC is under their guidelines, and they're lying to you, is what I hear. So it's hard for me to believe that the NRC is lying to me. But stranger things have happened. So yeah, we all need to educate ourselves. The community needs to educate themselves. I mean, we have children. I have 5 children in this community, and I feel safe here. And if you don't feel safe here, then educate yourself and find out what is really going on yourself, and stop pointing fingers and making fear in people's lives. It's really not fair to the people that are just trying to live their life. It's unfortunate that a lot of people do that, and I hope that education is the best way to go. And I thank you for bringing this up, because it is going on in our community, and it's tough to, as an elected official, I'm just like everybody else. I need to educate myself, and I need to tell what I believe, and then the facts as I get them, I tell the community, and it is what it is. There's you can't change what the facts are. If it's happening this way since 62, and the water is discharged the same way as it's always been discharged, then where were these people in 62? I mean, now they're coming out of the woodwork to say things that have always been going on, and that's the way I see it right now. But if there's something I'm missing, I am going to educate myself, and I will have more information the next time we speak.
Okay, good.
I would have to agree with Teresa and Anthony. I think what Teresa brought up as a alternative is a great alternative. Set up the meeting, let people come, gain a little bit of knowledge, make the conclusion for yourself. That plant's been there since 1962. The water hasn't been getting released any differently than what it's always been. They built an elementary school after the fact that the plant was there. Now this is a concern because it's being decommissioned. I just think, I say set up the meeting, an informational meeting, bring some people in there knowledgeable, and hopefully everybody gains a little bit of knowledge, and they can make the conclusion for themselves. But I think what Teresa's solution is a very viable and good solution, and that's what I recommend, is we go that route.
And we'll all be on the same page with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the process of decommissioning. They wanted to decommission decommissioning.
Mhm.
This is part of the process. I mean, what did they think? That they were going to shoot it up into space? I mean, this is part of the process and, you know,
Do you know what one of the solutions was?
Shoot it up into space.
No, well, that, they haven't figured that out yet,
No, they-
was to barge it
Oh, yeah.
into the ocean somewhere.
Yeah.
Where the other solution was to transport.
Well, it's gonna get there
via-
by
via
tide
tanker
anyway.
trucks Or rail. Okay, and we all know what's going on with rails right now. Who's gonna want it? Okay, so,
Yeah,
you know, I think people need to be educated and don't believe everything you hear. But I think what Teresa brought up is the best way to handle this. And I appreciate you making that recommendation.
well, I just want everyone to understand. That's, you know,
And
and
everybody-
once again, like
yeah,
Anthony,
and I
it's the
think it's-
education,
yeah.
it's the education,
I
and
agree.
then, you know, so you can hear both sides of the story and people have intelligence, they can figure it out,
Correct.
you know?
And I think as well, bringing in David Lock.
Yeah, lockdown, yeah. he's,
I've read a couple of his papers. He is a scientist. He
Yes.
has more knowledge than any of us sitting in this room. Was at one point very anti-nuclear, and his opinions on how this water should be handled, I think is very important to listen to. So I
Yeah,
appreciate, having that meeting and learning more from him and from others.
And
And
then
just
I'm
so
gonna
people
send it
know
to
too,
you.
just, another thing to bring into this, and you hear different, but, hospitals, they have just as much radiation
Yes.
waste going into the Hudson River as
That's right.
Indian Point.
when they shoot into
So,
the treatment plant.
I urge people to come out. If Teresa's able to get these people, a panel together and enlighten everybody with a little bit of knowledge, come out and listen. Come out and listen.
Mhm.
That's it.
even, yeah, no, we'll set that up and, I think it's, because people, not everybody goes to the DOB meetings, they're lengthy,
Very
they're
long.
sometimes one-sided.
4 hours.
It's a certain group that speaks most of the time, so, it's not everybody gets to speak. Peter, did you have something?
Oh, yes, when I attended the September Town of Cortland decommissioning meeting, which was 4 hours long, I acquired a lot of information from that meeting. Since the plant was open, the NRC and New York State allowed the plant to discharge 12% of strontium and tritium through their filtration and boiling process back into the Hudson from the cooling areas. They've only had 6% since inception, and they have all, according to records, to back that up.
Sure.
And they haven't exceeded ever. There's 250,000 sensors in the Hudson, 5 miles in either direction, measuring temperature at all depths, and they've never changed more than 2 degrees since the plant opened. If that meeting if there's access to that meeting, there was a lot of information about the actual facts of what they're doing and where they are at the September 2022 meeting that we attended. So
Yeah. no.
very knowledgeable. I learned a lot from that.
What was that old saying years ago? Just the facts, man,
And they are
just the facts.
Great.
And I promised to set up a committee, and Lisa, thank you for volunteering. I'm going to be talking to you. My computer has been, I don't even want to tell you, so $2,000 later, I have a new computer that's being set up this week. So I have intermittent use of, yeah, it's been intermittent, so I'm just like, oh, man, I can't get in, please. But anyhow, thank you for volunteering for that, and I'll be talking to you, and we also have a couple more residents that are interested, so we'll get a meeting together, because the more people that have knowledge and are educated, the better off all of us, because we certainly don't want to do the alternative that they're interested in, those water tanks. That's not for us.
That's more dangerous to the children than do than.
I don't
And
know,
we-
sometimes they come out with some crazy
Yeah,
ideas.
and we definitely don't want to go on Facebook and other social media platforms and promote something that's not happening.
Mhm.
And fear in the local residents, which is what's going on now.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to the people that just want to live their life.
All right, and Teresa brought up a good point, get involved.
Yes,
You want to educate yourself and then
Volunteer, get on the committee, get involved.
so we'll all have much more knowledge soon.
Hopefully.
Mhm.
And all of the videos from the past meetings, I believe, are on this.
Yes.
We might want to repeat that.
No, Lisa, could you just
Yeah.
come up? I'm sorry, because the microphone doesn't always pick up the voices. and
Says you
stuff.
volunteered, might as well get on TV.
Yeah. can't be shy when you're with this group, right?
What I was going to say, Peter, is that all of the meetings of the DLB
Yes.
are on their website.
That was a very, very informative. meeting.
Yes, and the last one in April is when David Lockdown spoke
Hmm.
and noted that the safest thing for people was the release into the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
60 years ago.
It's
Nothing's changed. Thank you.
So
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, any comments from the floor? Any comments from any hands raised on the video?
Eileen, do you want to say anything?
Oh, Eileen.
There she is.
She's up there. Eileen, do you want me to allow you to speak anyway? There we go.
The hand went up.
There you go, Eileen.
All right, thank you, Marcus. Good presentation. That will be on the website for the residents?
Yes, for tomorrow morning, yes.
Okay, will there be copies available?
If you like one, Eileen, you can come by and pick it up.
Oh, thank you, Marcus.
Of course.
Yeah, Teresa, I also agree that, the village and surrounding areas need to be more educated on this, discharge of radioactive water. And I solely support a meeting of that nature, to be able to educate everybody, and even though they may not agree, at least come and listen. And, send your questions in when the time comes, so that they can be answered. Educated consumer, that's what it comes down to. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks,
Eileen.
Eileen.
Good night, Eileen.
Okay, no other questions.
Good night.
Good
Good night.
Thank you. I just want to wish everyone a happy Easter, and I hope I see everyone at the Easter with the Easter Bunny on Saturday, 10:30.
10:30.
Pavilion, don't forget.
Continuous, Howard.
So I'd like make a motion to close the meeting.
Well, you adjourn to executive?
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve, that's right. Steve did ask for executive. I apologize. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
Second that.
All in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming.